rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The question is about reading Al-Fatiha للميت. Al-Fatiha wal-Quran were all sent with a purpose attached. The purpose is لِتُنذِرَ مَنْ كَانَ حَيًّا, to warn those who are alive. Al-Fatiha is a dua that is asking Allah for guidance. It starts off with praise, acknowledgement of who Allah is, who you are, and asking Allah to guide you. It has nothing to do with the dead person. Yes. The part of the ayah that talks about, the question is, in the ayat of Siyam, there is part of the ayah that says that he who is traveling or sick or traveling, then he can break the fast and then he can make it up later on. But then he cites a part of the ayah that comes after some other part in the middle. Yeah, وَأَن تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. That doesn't come in this ayah, it comes in the previous ayah. The ayat in the beginning is كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِن قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودَاتٍ فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنكُم مَّرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرَ وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةٌ طَعَامُ مِسْكِينٍ وَمَنْ تَطَوَّعَ خَيْرًا فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَهُ وَأَن تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. You see where it comes? It is coming after the portion that talks about those who are too frail or too old, or pregnant women by extension, or breastfeeding women, again by extension, those categories of very poorly health groups of people, because pregnancy is a cause of weakness. It causes a woman to be very weak. Likewise, breastfeeding is very exhausting. So in any way, in those cases, Allah says, فِدْيَةٌ طَعَامُ مِسْكِينٍ. And then he who volunteers, وَمَنْ تَطَوَّعَ خَيْرًا فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَهُ. Then it says, وَأَن تَصُومُوا. So that people do not take this license lightly. Allah saying, you may use the license, but it is better if you fast. It's better for you if you fast. Then the ayah comes again without the repetition. It says, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر, without repeating وأن تصوموا خير لكم, because it's mentioned up front. Okay, so always fasting is better than using the license, but the Quran is meant to protect your health primarily so that you can continue to worship. So to fast is better. To use the license, use it judiciously, which means as needed. Good questions. Okay, yes. So the question is, you start the day off fasting, but then a travel comes up and you'll be traveling about 100 miles or more. That's a question. So the question is, do you break the fast when you arrive, or what's the other?
In between.
So the question is two portions. Do you break the fast on your way, before you leave, or after you arrive? That's part of the question. The second part is about, what about the second day? You are on travel, you are outside, and you are not at home. Do you fast or do you break the fast? Well, for the first portion, if you are still in town, you need to keep your fast because that is your norm. Okay? But when you set out and you leave the town, leaving the town is marked by all the town houses are behind you. Now you are on travel. You are not in town, you are on travel. So during the trip, you can break the fast. You don't have to wait until you get to your destination, because you are on travel. You need that energy to keep going, right? After you arrive, you are traveling, you are still going to continue to break your fast. If the travel is a day, as you mentioned, then you may break the fast the next day because you're coming back. Okay? But if you're going to stay for 3 days or more, you have one of two options: to fast or not to fast. It's up to you. It's a license. But if you stay longer and you already know where you're sleeping, where your food is, where your business is, your life is normally settled and everything is accounted for, then you are no traveler anymore. So on travel, the word used in the ayah, ala safar, means mutalabbisun bis safar, means he is in a state of travel. He is not settled. Because the opposite of traveling is al-muqim. Al-muqim is someone who is settled. He knows where things are, he knows his schedule, he is not going to be prompted unnecessarily to do things unexpectedly. So he is not really on travel, which means he is out of the travel conditions. Then he is settled, then he needs not to use the license. Sure. Yes. Yeah, the question is about the intention. Do we have to make the intention for every night, or can we make it for the whole of Ramadan? Either one is correct. You can make the intention to make the fast for the month of Ramadan. It is like the intention of Hajj. You don't make intention every part of Hajj, right? That's one opinion. The other opinion say it's better to make it every night because this is mentioned in the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes. Yeah, the question is, if you're going from DC to Atlanta, flying. If you're flying, do you have the license? The answer is yes. You can fast. You can fast. If you change time zones, it is not advisable that you fast, because it messes up the days. Yes. Yes. Why do we fast? Very good question. Why do we fast? Jazakallah khair. We fast, number one, because Allah, whom we believe and love, He told us fasting helps you develop righteousness. Fasting makes you a better believer. Fasting gives you control over your body so that you can have control over yourself. Fasting helps you understand the needs of those who are poor and needy, who miss a meal or two or three sometimes a day. So when you fast and it's a long day, you have some feeling of thirsty or hunger or something that makes you feel compassion towards those who need it. Okay? So fasting gives you control. When all the day the shaitan is telling you, eat, nobody sees you. Take a sip of water, nobody sees you, nobody knows what you're doing. You keep saying what to the shaitan? Say, no, I'm fasting. Fasting helps you control your reaction, your impulses. So when somebody attacks you or does something wrong to you, right? You say, I'm fasting. You don't engage people in the wrongdoing. Got that? Does this answer your question? Very good question. Thank you. Yes, yes. Why everybody wants to travel? At least it's not Atlanta, yes. You are on safar, you are on travel until you actually settle, not because ideas are set in your head. Yes, yes, brother. Yeah, very nice question. We have a couple of communities that the Quran calls people of the book, the Christians and the Jews. The question is, as I understood it, correct me if I misunderstood you. He's saying, why do we keep talking about them, but they don't talk about us? Yeah. Well, basically, for very, very pragmatic reasons. Number one, we believe in the book, in the prophets they claim to follow. So we have to talk about them. Number two, the Quran talks about them to educate us about their good deeds and bad deeds so that we take lessons. So we have to talk about them. Right? The Quran tells us what they believe in, where they went wrong, so that we take lessons and not to fall in the same mistakes. Okay? So there are good reasons for us to be talking about them, not by way of backbiting or anything like this, but by way of learning about previous communities of faith, where they went wrong, so that we avoid it, where they were right, so that we can follow them. Yes. Sure. The question is, if I am injured and I need blood transfusion because I bled a lot, and somebody donated blood and they are transferring the blood into me, does this break my fast? The answer is no. But don't get injured. Don't try it at home. We have to go for the Isha. Jazakumullah khairan. We'll continue tomorrow with the rest of your questions, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan.